That's a good one. Classic.
Yeah, but it was easy. I got to get a little deeper, think a little harder.
Yeah, easy layup.
All right. Well, we are live here at the Burbank Card Show, day 4. Yes, day 4.
Day 4.
Right?
Yeah.
4.
Live.
Yeah.
And we are on the stage
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
with the man that needs no introduction, Mr. Jeremy from Heritage. We have Art over here from Golden. Yeah, who?
Yeah, thank you for having us, man. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
man, for sure. I'm Matt from Hobbzi. This is Dakota from Hobbzi. And it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys on the live stream this week. And all of the people out here in the audience. I'll say hi to all of our audience members. You guys can't see it, but there are so many people in these seats right now.
Very
It
enthusiastic
is absolutely packed. So we don't have a camera on the audience, but if you could see it, I'm telling you what, man, they are.
Trust me, bro.
We got
They're
people
there.
sitting down here in front, like, waiting for things to start. But no, we appreciate you guys joining us on the live stream. We're looking forward to doing this in more shows. And so, yeah, it's been pretty fun. What's the show been like for you guys so far?
It's been good. We've watched.
I thought you were just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's been good.
Well, it's been a long week, so I got some slow pauses in my conversation here. We brought in some really interesting stuff. We got a Thai cob bat that looks amazing. We've been bringing in everything, not just sports cards. So we've been comics, cards, Type 1 photos, so a lot of different stuff. Some really cool stuff over there.
You're more focused on pop culture now, right?
Yeah, I'm
Personally.
Well, personally, what I'm really into is non-sports cards, but in what I'm doing at Heritage, the category-wise, we're kind of touching the entertainment, the music memorabilia, the non-sports cards, the TCG, your Magic and your Pokemon and your Yu-Gi-Oh, that stuff, sneakers, all those different things like that, action figures and toys.
Cool.
It's kind of where my umbrella. We have 52 categories, so there's a lot of other things going on.
One for every day of the week.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, different one.
Yeah, it's been a good show. It's been kind of interesting, the upstairs downstairs dynamic.
Yes, it has.
I won't complain. I know EJ and Rob have already heard enough of that from everybody, so they're smart guys. They'll get it figured out. I'm sure for next time.
Well, here's the thing. I understood it from an experience standpoint of someone coming here for the first time, going to a card show, the corporate booths being together. In terms of that, when I put myself in their shoes, it makes absolute sense. Obviously,
100%.
our prerogative is to get as much consignment, as much action as possible.
Yeah.
So it's not completely ideal for that, but I looked at it this way. I'm like, okay, so we maybe don't have the traffic down here, but the experience is going to be really good. So what I started doing, I went upstairs and I started mingling and negotiating and telling people we're down here, and we're having a heck of a show. I think the Burbank show is probably the top show in the country aside from the National. And I got to meet some really interesting people. We actually have a really cool story about a gentleman from Canada. In his 80s, his mom kept all his cards in a binder with tape on them. He had a 52 mantle in there. And obviously has tape and whatnot, but he was very emotionally attached to this card because his mom took care of it when he was 7, things like that. So he was just such a sweet man. It was such a pleasure talking to him, getting to know him, hearing his story. I mean, I didn't want to stop talking to the guy. Typically, sometimes, like, okay, I want this conversation to end, but with this guy, I felt like I was talking to a friend, man. So it was cool being a part of that experience with him. He got it graded at PSA. I got 1.5, so it's a $30,000 to $40,000 card. We have it on display, but just getting to meet new people at these shows, hearing those stories, having that connection to him. He got a little emotional when it got graded. He took a picture. He was so grateful. He's a big fan of the show, by the way. We do have a Netflix show. Season 2 did get renewed. We started filming this week.
You have a what? Golden has a what? A Netflix show?
A little Netflix show.
When did this
Shameless
happen?
plug, but yeah, he was a really big fan of the show, and he got offered $30K cash here. Someone offered him $30K cash.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, you know what, I thought about it, but I love your guys' show. I love being a part of it. So that was just really cool that he just wanted to be a part of the brand, and he just feels like, man, I got my card on that show I watched. He flew down from Canada, and he texted me when he got there, and man, it was just a really cool experience. Top 5 experiences in the hobby was meeting that guy. So
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We actually just finished interviewing, speaking of interesting stories, we interviewed that guy. I think his handle on IG is like CRT something. He's got the full sleeve of vintage tattoos. Have you seen this guy?
No, I haven't.
Rolling around. This is, I don't
So he's got cards?
Yes.
tattooed?
literally
Yes.
like
Oh, wow.
vintage,
The top vintage
like
cards.
Polar Bear, Honest.
Wagner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got everything. The T206. I mean, you name it. I mean,
Yeah.
from
Mickey's
his
on there.
shoulder all the way down to his
Gary, I'm
wrist,
assuming.
all
I
the
Did you
way
see it at the
around.
National? Did you see that?
I didn't see
Yeah.
it, but I already imagine what cards are on his.
Check out
his sleeve.
Hobbzi.com. We got the article on there. It's a really cool piece. We're actually, I don't think it's live yet. I think it goes live this week. So, but it's that's going to be a cool piece. We interviewed him, got the details behind it, the story behind each card, why it was there. That
so
that
cool.
was cool. I mean, the amount of effort and thought that had to be put into that.
Just one arm.
It's just one arm
Is
right
he going
now.
to go to the other arm?
I don't know. I have
only
to
cool
talk to
people-
Michael.
He could put 90s junk wax
I was gonna
over
say
there.
that, or just do Marvel
90s
cards on the
junk.
other side.
Oh,
Yeah.
the other side.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, this is the important side. This is the junk era. Let's talk about that for a
the
second.
history of collecting in his body.
There you go.
Yeah, he's gonna go. The leg's gonna be like like some sort of odd sport like
Oh,
F1
he'll
or
have
something.
to put a Lotus on there and an Illustrator too. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got to get the whole array.
Everything.
Yeah.
Well, if I put a Charizard in there, why not?
So let's talk a little bit about, and the reason I brought Dakota up, and Jeremy
Uh-oh.
and Art can do this too.
Here we go.
I'm not going to ask anything controversial. Don't worry. I do like to do that, but on this one I won't do that.
Yeah, your PR team is
So
already
let's
on it.
talk about Golden and Heritage, and let's talk. No, I'm just kidding.
No
Let's-
No comment.
No comment.
no, but the reason I brought you and Dakota up mainly, and I'd love to hear Art's opinion on this as well, is just shows in general. Okay, over at Hobbzi, we've been talking about this a lot. Like, how do we take the activations at shows and the entertainment at shows, and what people are doing at the shows, and elevate that enough to bring an element of entertainment and activity and things like that to keep people engaged to the show. Dakota brought up a good point when we first started talking about this, and if you don't know, on the live stream, Dakota runs Las Vegas Card Show, which is probably one of the more interactive, from an activation standpoint, shows
Yeah,
in
you
the
definitely
industry,
had a lot
right?
of activations. That was very cool.
And is kind of known for that, and we'll have some exciting news about that coming up later. We won't, just a little plug there for that.
2024.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
So, but there's, when we were talking about this originally, one thing we noticed at these shows is we wanted to do a time lapse at one of the booths of like setting a camera up and just watching everybody's head down, just kind of rolling down.
Oh,
Because it's
wow.
literally,
That'd be
everybody's
cool.
kind of just head down, stop, head down, stop. Dakota made a joke and was like, you could be standing right next to somebody you
I did it
have known
yesterday.
and haven't seen in
I
forever.
did it
yeah.
myself. Said hi to two people and didn't realize the other guy in the middle I knew, and so I stopped, turned around, and looked back. I was like, "Oh crap, I know
Yeah,
you
'cause
too."
you're just staring at cars walking down
Yeah.
each row. So
You just don't look up. It's people. It's this what they come here to do. They just walk around their heads down and just look for their card. And what I think he's trying to say is, how do we get people to do that, but also pick their head up and see what's in the room and engage with what's in the room?
engage and
Get them to stay in the room a little bit longer and build
which
that
would-
memory with it.
that would be the goal. Getting people to stay in the room, enjoy themselves without having, because you get burnt out a little bit. I mean, even as an avid collector that enjoys everything I look at and don't mind looking at the same card over and over, right? There's going to come a time when you're like, okay, I've seen 2 days, I got to go. I've done my deals. So how do you keep them in the room? That's kind of the question.
It's a good question. I did Card Party recently, which was here at the Marriott like a month and a half ago. And the audience in the TCG world, the community is a lot more engaging. It's not about, they're looking at the cards, but they're not heads down. They're more, there's lines for every activation.
Yeah, CollectorCon too, same way.
Yeah, so I was like, how do we, but when you're in as more of a sports card collecting show, everyone's looking to finish a collection or upgrade something. They're being really dialed into the cards, especially the guys that have been collecting for a long time. Some of the newer people coming in the hobby, I think there's an opportunity to show them that we can have some interaction outside of just looking at cards. I haven't really seen anything too crazy yet that's really sparked that.
Yeah, do you have some?
Well, I was just gonna say what Mama Breaks did, Stephanie did with the kids. What the kids pavilion, or what was it called?
Yeah, it was right over
Yeah,
there.
I did hear a lot
Kids
of
Trade
noise
Day.
over there.
Absolutely, so important
100%.
because that makes it a family experience. So as a dad, like I come here and I want to look at my stuff, but I also want my kids to have a good time, have fun, like learn about the community. But so like those things, they add up, especially when you compound in 5, 7, 6 years. These kids are going to turn into collectors. We're going to be working with these kids in the future.
But at the same time is those kids and what they're being raised in is a lot more experimental and experiential based activations throughout their entire lives versus what the last 50 years has been raised in. So there's a lot more flashy stuff going on in their already day-to-day life, where if we don't bring those things into this space, there's just everything else is going to keep going up, and the card show industry is just kind of plateauing. So how do we engage? So like you said with like Card Party and Collecticon, there's things that as a community.
Well, the community is different.
Yeah, it's community. It's they have shows that they can wrap things around. They have games they can be involved with. There's other things outside of just watching sports. Right. So how do we take sporting events or sports themselves and put them in this room that allows an engagement and an activation and experience that everyone could enjoy, especially kids?
Well, I know that I went to your show in Vegas, and you were working on activations there, and I think you had an arcade set up, and a lot of the vendors had some golf games where you'd win packs and stuff, and I like that stuff. Yeah. But we were all just at the National, a couple of weeks ago.
It feels like it was about, it doesn't feel like it's like 2 months ago.
Well, and that
feels like I flew straight
here
from size,
there. Right? Yeah, they did. They did a great
job.
So
I didn't get as much time to walk the floor. I don't know if y'all did or not, but did you see anything interesting going on there that was like, that's amazing, something that we can grow from? Because I didn't have a chance really. I was locked down in my booth.
Yeah, so I felt like this was the first. I've only been in the sports card industry for 3 years. This past National was the biggest build-outs I've seen across the room and more. Now, does that mean it's experiential based, or is it more like corporate build-outs type situations that get people to come in and just oohs and ahs? There was the only thing that I saw that was actually physically engaging was in the Ludex Lounge with PXG's golf simulator, where they're actually swinging a club and hitting into a simulator.
Even doing fittings. They were doing fittings there too.
Yeah, they were doing fittings. Now, Fanatics had a great setup, but it was the life-breaking thing, and it was like a stadium setup. That was cool. I know you guys had a great build-out. It was very massive. You had your podcast room over there. You had your submission room over there. And then you had almost like a vault room where you could walk in.
Yeah, we also had that arc with
the
PSA
cards in
1986 Fleer. All PSA 10 set, they were in this arc, which is super duper cool. And then Heritage, they had all the cool Star Trek and.
Well, this is this first show that we've actually did a separate booth just for all the pop culture stuff and entertainment stuff. So we brought Pokemon and that. We had sneakers. We had some action figures, and we had an entire Star Trek collection of all the costumes from the movies and the shows. We had a Kurt Cobain guitar, some vinyl. So we did that in a separate booth outside the sports booth. That was the first time we've done that setup.
Yeah, something about Card Party, because I also went, and something that was really cool. I think they broke the record for the most packs opened as well.
Yeah, they set up the Guinness thing.
There was like a Guinness World Record for how many packs get open in there. So that was super cool, super engaging. You should have seen the trash everywhere.
But that was very high energy. It was very high energy.
See, that's great. That needs to be at more shows. Like, how do you bring a pack or a pack opening thing to each event where it generates hype, it generates energy? Because the one thing when I started researching shows, I went from, there was a year, my first year I was at Dallas card show, and then immediately in that same weekend there was a sneaker con. I went to both shows, and there was a wildly different energy in the rooms compared to feel and sound and things going off. It was very similar, but it felt like a different energy. So how do we bring
energy?
So I had an idea for the trade night. So the big official trade night they did at the National, and they do them at all the different shows now, right? Well, everyone's getting heads down. They're sitting at the tables everywhere. I thought it'd be cool if there was a huge screen in there and a live camera walking around and walking up to someone, pulling up a card and saying, hey, showing the entire room, this guy's getting rid of his card, he's taking $20 for it. Does anyone in the room want it? Or this guy's looking to trade for whatever. And then go to each table and randomly pick someone and put it on the screen so the entire room sees that.
Or it could be a live auction where we have someone there, yelling out prices and stuff.
I wanted a gavel. I wanted an actual
gavel. Yeah, we could have someone out there. It'd be
pretty entertaining.
With the paddles and everything.
Go back to an auctioneer, doing, hey, give me $20.
Yeah,
that would be a really cool. Even if it's a $15, even if it's a $15-$20, we want to hear that.
It doesn't matter. It's excitement, it's involvement, and it can price. It's just like Whatnot, where a $15 car can sell for $50 just because somebody doesn't want to lose to somebody. Type situation. And to go off what you're saying is, that's something we did at this show, was walk around the floor and interview people live. But I also like the idea of, because we had one at Las Vegas Card Show where walk around the room and say, hey, this person's selling this just over the intercom. If you're looking for it, come to this booth. type
Yeah,
situation.
that stuff's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. So those are activations that we could do as Hobbzi, because that's what we're trying to implement with our media team, is being able to walk around the show live and cut 2 different cameras here on stage, or 2 or 3 different cameras, or walking the floor, and have interactions where people can, super chat something, say, hey, you should buy that card instead of that card, and then like
I was just about to say, we got some cool ideas. I don't know if we want to talk about them or not, but clearly Dakota's going to talk about it. So
I mean, that's the whole point of us being
You
on
walk
here.
around with one of those T-shirt guns and just start blowing up T-shirts.
And then you shoot too low and hit a kid in the face, and then now we're in another problem.
You know what? Instead of do like a card wrapped in a T-shirt, so they're getting a card or
That's
something.
actually, that'd be cool.
I mean,
that would be cool,
because you think when you go
Wrap a
to
slab
a
in a
Mavericks
T-shirt.
game and the things that they're doing between the breaks and at halftime to get the energy up, I don't know what pieces of that could work in here, but you got to think outside the box.
I was always looking at like festivals, music events. Like, there's always a million things going on in every nook and cranny of that event space. So how do we can figure out those little things and bring them in here? I mean, like, sports car investor Jeff, he has his kids zone. He had a great spot at the National where it's a whole build out where kids can hang out, trade on blocks and stuff. Those are things those just little things add up. If you have 20 companies doing little things, it builds a lot of energy in the space versus just trying to have one big thing going on in the room. You need to get a bunch of people doing small things that eventually connect. And so because there's always there's always something for somebody. So it's not trying to not having one company try to appease everybody. It's like one company appease a small demographic of people in the space, and then go to another company, okay, now target this demographic. So that way everyone feels taken care of, and there's always these little things going off in the room that bring people back and be like, I want to stay here. I don't want to leave yet. I haven't even looked at the floor yet in cards kind of situation.
So I'll keep giving away ideas. Y'all can use them if you want. I asked this to happen at the National. They didn't approve it, but I thought it would have been a cool idea to do a dunk tank.
Yo.
And I tried to get it in.
Yeah.
And they just were worried about the water and stuff like that. But we could put the different collectors and influencers or people from some of these companies, you pay like $5 for a ball and it goes to charity, and Jeff Wilson's on stage for an hour, and then card collectors too, and Mojo.
You put Gio and Jesse in a dunk tank, and that one might be busy for a while.
Yeah, you can definitely put Gio up there. Some people probably want to knock him.
That line will be too long. Love you, Gio.
But we can put Tim up there with his big hat on.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's enough people that would do that, and if the money's going to charity or something, that would be a fun little activation.
100%, I agree. Like, those out of the box ideas, like I think I said it to Matt yesterday, is we have to look outside of this industry. That's the hobby, like the typical companies you see in here, and you have to think, okay, they're already here. What is similar to our demographic that could resonate with this demographic that's not in the room yet? Is what we need to start thinking about and getting in the room. And outside of the carnival games ideas, that's great, but just think about other companies that can be injected into this space. Like we talked about DraftKings, golf companies, and similar things where we know our audience is, gamblers, drinkers, and they love sports. So how do we find other companies that aren't necessarily in the collectible space, but can coexist?
I think energy drink is a good one. Like, there's no energy drink sponsor.
Oh, I had one at my first show. I lived off it for like 2 months.
but like there's so many energy drinks in the market now. Yeah. But there's a lot of them that are kind of catered towards a niche. It'd be cool if somebody said, you know what, I'm going to cater towards collectors and their craziness, and like name it after stuff of collecting. Like, this is a mint. This is a 10.
I mean, I know the show is there's a show named Hobby Slam, but a drink called Slam would be cool. I don't know.
Yeah, but like it'd be nice to get some other sponsors and some other opportunities and some creativity in here outside of just grading companies.
Because when those companies' attention come onto here, that means their audience's attention comes in here, and they go, oh, this exists. Like when I first found out about the sports card industry in 2021, February 2021, I had a friend tell me he took $10K to $100,000 in a year trading cardboard. I was like, you did what? Like, it was just didn't make sense to me. And then from February to May is when we're like, okay, I'm going to run a card show in Las Vegas. And then went off to it because I just didn't know this existed. And there's people out there with a lot more money than me that can see this exist, and that just brings more capital into the space and more things. There's more people, more traders, more collectors, everything.
I definitely think we're missing an opportunity with the larger sponsors too, because I mean, obviously, Hobbzi's got 3 buckets. We got the agency side, the media side, and the ad network side. On the agency side, we've got a lot of advertisers that are interested because of our audience, right? Like, we've got a massive audience of, well over 3 million now collectors.
You're talking about advertisers that are not one of these.
Correct.
companies.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
so, not the Goldens and the Heritages and the PSAs, and
Beckett's,
we're talking about Nike, Under Armour, PXG, DraftKings, RotoWire. So like,
But I haven't seen any of them set up at a show yet.
they're
or
not.
anything.
Yeah.
I think it's coming though.
Yeah, I think so too. And I
needs
think,
to.
but they have to be introduced to that, right? So, and I think that's where Hobbzi comes in. Is like, we can help bridge that gap a little bit because we have some of those advertisers, but they have to be introduced to the audience too. Like they have to understand, okay, this is our demographic. This is who we're trying to reach, and I don't think anyone has bridged that gap yet to those major
And when you-
advertisers.
go ahead.
Yeah, so the way I look at the hobby, I mean, card collecting, I feel like it's still very American, especially sports card collecting. Aside from the TCG, that's international, but I feel right now when we're branching out internationally, like places like Saudi Arabia that are playing these soccer players absurd amounts of money, to hear them Mbappe turn down $1 billion
Billion-dollar
is
contract, yeah.
upsetting. But think about it that way. Those guys love sports. They in Asia, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron, those guys are gods over there.
Yeah, I feel like they're bigger over there than sometimes than they are here.
Oh yeah, no,
I mean, it's
absolutely.
like you got people
Money's
crying at their
money's different
feet.
over there.
Yeah,
Money's a lot
and
different over
look
there.
at how that even just Messi coming here to the States has impacted the market tremendously
Yeah.
for soccer and people just thinking about collecting. I was talking to some guys last night who've never bought a soccer card. They're buying soccer right now because of that attention. So I think obviously the Netflix show, not to keep plugging it, but we do reach a international demographic because it's subbed in so many different languages. So we get hit up from people from all over the place. And I think if we continue to approach it that way and there's more media being put out there, then we're going to grow the pot for everyone else.
Well, even
And,
some of the
the Adam
collectors.
Sandler movie is probably going to help us out some too. I don't know
Yes.
what the plot's going to be
Yeah.
or whatever, but that gives a lot of visibility to the hobby.
I
as
know
well.
a little about
Yeah.
it, but I know he's coming out with the show about collectibles.
Yeah,
So-
and he's
or
been
movie.
spotted at a show or two, I think, as well, looking
Yeah.
at cards.
Yeah,
Nice.
interesting. Yep.
Nice.
So, but I mean, you guys have even on the show, you guys have collectors that are wanting you guys to auction stuff that are not in the. I mean,
House.
down in Puerto Rico, Colombia, the UK, like they're all over the place.
Yeah, it gets
yeah,
pretty
you guys have-
crazy.
Heritage has it too.
Yeah, well, we have offices in Paris and
Yeah.
London,
London, yeah.
and Hong Kong, and we're all
Yeah.
over the place. So there's a
We're
there's
just scratching the
different
surface of the international
Yeah, there's
audience.
there's just so much more going to happen.
And with F1 and soccer and all these sports, like it's kind of like the epicenter, and it's kind of moving out, kind of the whole like drop of water, and you got your ripples. I
Yes.
feel like you're moving, and the ripples are just now getting
Yeah.
Soccer
to
and F1 are
that
definitely
international
pushing us
audience.
to the
Yeah.
other side of the pond.
Yeah.
I think if you blink and you look 20 years in the future, all this stuff is
Yes.
it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, there's so many sports on the other side of the planet that we don't even acknowledge here in
Cricket.
the United States. Yeah, cricket,
Yeah.
which isn't that the
Huge.
largest?
Huge.
It's bigger than all sports, like revenue-wise.
Yeah,
is
I-
cricket. Like then soccer, and then football, then our football.
Yeah.
Right, something like that. So it is going to happen. And when the soccer kind of bridged out a couple years ago, we started seeing more shows pop up over like London and Paris, and I think Japan started doing one.
Germany.
Germany did one. So it's
Soccer's
starting.
coming.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
at the Dallas show, they do that every 2 months, and there's a special trade night that's just soccer guys get together.
Yeah.
They do it away from, I guess, everyone else, but they have like a soccer-focused trade night.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool little story. We just sold a triple auto superfractor of Messi, Ronaldo, and Holland, and I actually flew out to Italy to pick this card up and meet the guys who won it in a break. I flew into Milan. None of the guys lived in Milan. They lived in different parts of Italy, but they all that's where the breakers at, so we
Yeah.
all joined there. So, and getting to hear them and see how passionate they are about their soccer and the history of Panini in Italy and stuff like that, it was amazing because this is me in a different country and I'm talking cards. Like I'm chopping it up with a fellow collector. We're talking about all these other things. I'm like, man, now if this grows in a single country like Italy, I can only imagine as it continues to spread. But just amazing stories, and our industry can't change lives. So this card's selling for $134,000, even though they have to split it between 4 people, it goes a very long way. So getting to experience that time and time again, especially with the bigger stuff, especially soccer right now, has been amazing.
Yeah.
And those headlines move the needle too.
100%.
Oh yeah.
Those headlines move the needle.
You know, the other thing I see kind of changing, I think these shows are not just card shows anymore either. It's memorabilia, you know, it's your bats, it's your TCG, it's your sports, and then you're seeing comics come in here, you're seeing
Funko Pops.
Yeah, Funko Pops. They're
so
starting
toys will start.
We're actually getting ready to put some of those in auctions. Funko Pops.
I truly believe there is a, you know, one of the original ideas of the Las Vegas Card Show, which we kind of pigeonholed with ourselves with the name Card Show, is we wanted to bring all the collectibles like toys, sneakers, TCG and sports cards under one roof, because they're all the same mindset, they're all the same mentality, but they all operate in their own different world. But if we could get them in the same room and realize it's the same thing, and that they can branch into other markets, then we're cross-pollinating those markets and expanding all the markets, which means bringing more money into the space and more awareness to the space. So that is something that it needs to happen, and I think it's starting to slowly, but someone needs to step and say we need to have a section for sports, a section for TCG, a section
you
for
know
sneakers.
what, I think Prism God's trying to do that in Atlanta, right? Because he's got a sneaker component, and then he has the basketball game, and then he has the cards, you know, but it takes some time to kind of pull that together.
Yeah, like it's you know, my mindset is like flip the switch, let's do it. But reality is it's a slow dial turn.
Yeah.
And you know, we have in the last 2 to 3 years that dial's been turning with Collecticon and with like Del Mar, with Burbank, with Las Vegas Card Show, some other shows. It's starting to take traction. It rubbed a lot of people wrong at first because they felt like we were taking what they've been doing for 50 years and away from them. But reality is these shows, there needs to be 6 to 8 shows that are pushing that limit, so that it elevates those shows. But we were talking about yesterday is there still needs to be the normal card show. That should always remain because there's a demographic for that that's going to want
I kind of
that.
see those as the regional shows.
Yes, but you need that for the bigger, let's push the needle, let's expand this. There needs to be 6 to 8 shows that are just like, we're going to do some weird stuff. Yeah. And it's going to not make everybody happy.
Yeah, some of it's going to work, some of it's not going to work, right? It's like, you know what's funny is Jensen Shiro and I think it was Lewis Howes. I don't know if you guys watch any of their stuff, but they got a podcast and she's got a couple books. But she said when you change as a person, right, when you actually decide to change as a person and change habits, or you decide to stop drinking, or you decide to, start being healthier, you have friends around you that actually mourn that because they're like, well, that's not the person I knew. And that's why they have a hard time supporting that, right? Because it's like, well, I want the old Jeremy, or I want the old Dakota that, went out and drank and had fun and ate whatever he wanted. And so there's a mourning period there to understand that, no, that's not who I am anymore. Right. I think that's what we're going to get in the card industry.
We kind of are there.
Yeah, and you're kind of there right now. You're starting to see that, okay, well, that's making me uncomfortable because that's not what I grew up with. That's not the shows I used to go to, right?
Tag is an example of that.
Yeah.
The robots and the neon lights and the basketball
I love
games.
it.
Yeah.
I love how loud they are. They're not loud, but they are loud.
We're starting to see now people are being like, you know what? Okay, they're more accepting of it. They're starting to see things that are like, okay, well, maybe this isn't bad. I still get to, I've still got my trade nights. I still got my cards upstairs. And so the experiences are changing, yes, but I think they're going to start accepting it more as they realize, okay, it's not that bad. Yeah. I still get to do what I want to do, right? I still get to see the things I want to see. Yeah.
But they're going to fight it. Yeah. I've been hearing the grumbles of the old collectors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, but I understand, again, it's not about the last 50 years. It's about the next 50 years.
Yeah.
And knowing that those kids over there are more likely going to be engaged with tag
you have to do this.
than the guys that have been in the hobby. Mm-hmm. So they know.
You know what I tell them? I say, guys, we have to do this, or you're going to have no one to sell your cards to in 20 years when you want to get out.
Yeah. Like, I knew my shows. I purposely the first year did not drop a flyer off to vintage collectors because I knew that I was going to have music, it's going to be flashy, it's loud, and they were not going to like it. But then the second year I was like, okay, I need some vintage in here because there are some of the younger kids that like vintage. Like I have my friend Ryan, he's younger than me, and he's all about vintage weird stuff. But I knew not to touch certain demographics because they would have just been pissed if they were in my room with music and stuff. So that's the point is we have to start adjusting for what's going to be there versus what's here now. Like Amazon plans for 5 years out at a time. Like every action they make is as if they were 5 years down the road. And I think that's what show promoters and companies in the space 100%. Need to start operating is like, what is this going to look like in 5 years, and can we start implementing it now so that when it does come in 5 years, it's full blown, and then we start thinking for the next 5 years after that. Otherwise, it's going to just continue being the same freaking thing at every show, and that's where you know, on the caveat, on the other side of the coin, though, is people will always be happy with shows. It doesn't, there'll be people that are mad about it, but as long as they're in there and they're making deals and they're making money and they're making memories, they're going to say it's the best show in their life. Every weekend. It does not matter where you're at. It doesn't matter if it's a basketball gym or
was
a
it a
large
good
convention
show?
saying,
The answer to that is yes.
Yes. Like,
Where you making
it's
deals, where
very
you making
rarely
money,
somebody
where you
will
making memories,
publicly
yeah.
blast how bad a show is, because at the end of the day, if they're making money and they're happy and they hang out with their friends, because it is a lifestyle. Like, when I travel to 40 shows a year, I see the same people at every show. Doesn't matter if it's on the West Coast or all the way on the East Coast, because they love this. And it's about the chase of the card, but at the same time is, if they're all there to make memories, how do we increase their
the experiential aspect of it, right?
To create bigger and better memories. Like, dang, man, this one time I was in Vegas and Zion cases, and Roto Breaks did this after party in a suite at MGM, and it was totally cool, and there was a hot tub, and it was 2 floors. Like, that stuff is what people are going to like, and they're going to be, I want to get to that next time. Like, how do I get into that party next time? So it's you got to do this as the industry a whole, and companies too at shows. Like, we have to find ways to get people engaged and stay in their booth and create a memory with that company, so they get involved into their brand and become a fan.
Yeah, to touch on that, when I like where the hobby is now, because I do feel like people are building for longevity from the ground up. Think about all the companies that came into the hobby during the peak and the boom that are no longer here.
Right.
Think about the people that are no longer here. They were just in it for the instant gratification. They got in, got money, felt it was going to be like that forever.
You're talking about COVID boom, right?
The COVID boom, yeah. And the companies that came in, without saying which names are no longer here.
You can look around and see.
PR team. PR team is like, please stop.
We know who they are, but now I see companies really like strapping up their boots, going down to the ground floor and building out, and that creates longevity. I mean, I feel like that's been the nature of our hobby even before my time. It's been a slow build and compound, and I think some companies right now, especially the newer ones, they understand that and they're focused on it. So that's why, for me, I'm very optimistic about the next 5-7 years of our hobby. And I'm actually grateful that the people that just came in just to collect a quick buck are no longer a part of it, because that, the culture would get ruined that way.
Dating the herd.
Yeah. Well, when I've talked to a lot of these companies, and I tell them the biggest thing that they're not doing is when they're on the whiteboard and they're talking about developing a business in this hobby, they don't write the word collector and community on the whiteboard. They look at transactions and data and all this stuff. And if you actually are a collector, you're going to understand this room differently than a transaction. Yeah. And if you're going to build something in this business, you have to actually care and get goosebumps about actually being a part of this world. Yeah. Because we can get technology in place to solve problems.
Yeah. Yeah, but there has to be tribe mentality. That's why Apple is Apple. It's like you have to figure out how to get everybody together. And it's funny that you brought up community, because I had a conversation with our other partner or business associate, Michael. I don't believe on a grander scale that the word community is actually what it's supposed to mean in this space currently. I think it's very fragmented.
Right.
And people like to think it's a community because everyone preaches we're here, we're community. But again, we're still not working completely as a community in my mind. So, or do you believe that this is still community feels in this space, or do you think that there's some room to grow there?
Oh, there's definitely some ways to always get better and level up, for sure. There is a community here. It does have some little niches and some cliques and stuff that, but I think it's here. It's definitely not the same community that's in the TCG world, though.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot that I think there's some stuff they can learn from this, because I go to both shows. Yep. I think there's some stuff they can learn on the transactional business side, the card side, because they're always having a lot of fun over there. And over here, we're all business and like, what's the next deal? Yeah. We can sit back and have a little fun. I think there's a good mix there. And having this show here, having both, if that can figure out how to develop that and mix that, I think that some of the activations that the TCG people do inside of an event like this will expose them to some of that, and that community aspect of how they work with each other. Yeah,
that goes hand in hand of having all those different collectible markets in one room, learning from each other, not just from I can go buy this over here. Same mindset is, okay, what are they doing that's so fun over there that we're not? Why is it so much more loud and vibrant over there, and why is it so dull over here type situation? because I do agree. Like, we were at Collector Colony this weekend. Sugar Ray played a concert for 30 minutes. Like, right in the middle
Sugar
of
Ray was there?
Yeah.
Like just randomly pops up on stage.
Yeah, it starts
There
thinking,
he
like,
was,
and you got, like, I mean, Pikachu's running around and Charizard's running around, and it's way
Well,
more.
see, but you know what? That's in some of these older guys in here. That DJ playing in the background and all that going on.
They hate it.
Oh,
They
drive
hate
them
it.
nuts,
They
yeah.
hate it.
Well, that's why you
and
section
how do
it
we-
off.
Yeah,
just
how do-
Tag playing their music back there and that thumping is probably driving some
Well,
of
no,
these
they've
guys
already been
nuts.
asked to turn it
Yeah.
down.
That's okay. We'll turn ours up.
But you know what I think it comes down to, honestly? Like, it comes down to, are you giving more value than you're taking? And like Jeremy said, like, if you're thinking of transactions and analytics and all these different things from a tech side or a business side, like, you're going to lose.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, you've got to figure out, are we giving more value than we're taking?
Yeah. You know, one of the things that Art was bringing up a while ago, and it's the stories with the collectors. Come sit with me and Art talking to a collector. Listen to me talk to one. You can see the goosebumps of when they collected this stuff. They didn't collect it for a transaction.
When they found
They're
it
like,
after
I
years.
remember when I bought this, and I had it as a kid, and the memories that it was, and it takes me back to hanging out with my dad on the floor, whatever. That's what we get when I'm over there. You're like, that's the stories that need to be told more often, not how much a card sold for.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Agreed.
I agree, too.
Because for me, I started with TCG when I was 7, right? So I started collecting. I remember how fond I was just looking at every single corner of the card, reading anything possible I could read on the card, and just doing that for hours and hours and hours, and seeing the kids do it right now. Seeing my daughter starting to collect. She collects Disney and One Piece, so her eyes and the way she's organizing things just takes me back to those moments. And I'm like, man, I'm in a beautiful industry.
You get to relive it again through her, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm trying to live it through my daughter right now. She loves Stranger Things, so I've been buying Stranger Things cards, and I got her the first series set and explained to her how it was put together. So I'm trying to connect her and show her so she understands what I'm doing.
Yeah. So
At the same time, though, to Art's point, like, I've got 4 kids, right? And I've got 2 that are in sports and two that are 3 that are kind of into TCG. And I wasn't a TCG collector growing up. I was a sports collector, so I don't get the TCG side of things. I do now, obviously, because I've got to keep an eye on it for my kids. But what's interesting, though, is my kids aren't those type of collectors, right? They're looking for the rares. They're looking for the hollows. And if they don't get them, it's like throw away.
Oh, man.
They literally just throw them away.
Dude, you see it all over the show. You see it all over the show.
Breakers did that. So the influencers my little brothers got deep into Pokemon. But they saw all these breakers just go through cards so quickly, like, oh, that one's valuable, these are trash, oh, we didn't get a good hit. So when they're opening up, they're like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
They don't even look at the cards, they don't appreciate it, because they're watching guys breaking them react that way to cards that aren't as valuable. So they're reacting the same way.
It's a complete culture shift, man. Because I was like you when I was a kid on the sports side of things. I would sit there and go through and look at every stat on the back.
Organizing them.
Well, we didn't have to go look up the
memorize.
stats.
Right.
So there was no internet.
Gotta wait for the magazine to come out.
You're
like, oh, no.
It is, the culture has changed, and we have to recognize that. Like, you've got to recognize it. and
you know what? On the sports side, I tell everyone, they're like, I want to understand collecting. I was like, well, there's too much going on here. You got to start somewhere. I was like, what sport are you into? Find a value set. I still do this. I will build out the Prism set every year or the score set every year. That's how I learn all the new players, who moved to what positions. By forcing myself to build that out is how I get familiar with all the new rookies, and the score set's a good one to do it at. And that's like collecting that set and understanding it, not just going after the high value stuff. Like building out sets is actually, kind of therapeutic sometimes.
Absolutely. And for me, I kind of lost a little bit of passion for sports collecting, even though I still collect Kobe Bryant. What got me re-engaged with collecting was collecting One Piece cards with my daughter and because they're more affordable. I don't have to spend $5K to complete the set. I collect Kobe. I collect certain Kobe's Lux Auto, so it's $2K, $5K every time I need to splurge on one. But with these other TCG products, they're cool. I'm passionate about it too. It's much more affordable for me to complete a set. Maybe it's $1,000, which it's expensive money for some people, but it's way better than buying one card for $5,000, especially I'm just intending to collect a card. So I re-engage my passion with some of the TCG stuff, and now that my daughter's into it, it gets even better.
That Stranger Thing box, there was one upstairs. It's like $150 for a box, and I think they have 24, 36 packs in it. I'm gonna probably grab one for my
Nice.
daughter, and
Yeah,
I think that's
man.
an okay price
Yeah.
for something they're into. I'm going to make her open it up and show her how to put a set together.
Good.
Yeah, that's fun. Culture's changing. I think we're all shifting, especially the 3 companies that are up here, Hobbzi, Golden, and Heritage. I think as long as we're all moving forward and understanding, look, you got to respect the past, but look to the future, right? And so as long as we stay that line and understand that, I think we're all going to be good, and I think the hobby's going to go places we would never even
Absolutely,
expected.
man.
So
1,000%.
But-
You got to start collaborating more.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
what I mean by community. The only way to see this direction of the hobby truly going to the next step is people really starting to cross collaborate and work together, and that just comes down to who's going to start it.
Yeah. Oh, it's happening right here.
Yeah, it is. You know,
Yep.
especially with GM10 too, and that's what our goal as Hobbzi is. How do we get as many people up on this stage and just work together?
Well, you know, the GM10, those guys is a great group of. You just see the energy and how
Yes.
excited they are about doing everything they're
Yep.
doing, and
Yep.
they're trying to find their way through all this. But they're infectious.
Yes, they are.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What were we going to say?
100%.
Well, think about everyone that's successful in the hobby who's been in the hobby for the last 30, 40 years and the hurdles they had to go through until the moment came for them. So when I look at the hobby, I think about from 10 to 20 years. I look at guys like Ken Golden and everything he had to go through to get Golden to where it's at today. And it's very inspiring to me because he was everywhere trying to grow the hobby. I heard stories about him going to car auctions and just to look for that one whale to get into buying cards. So he really grinded it out. And I look at it in the next 20 years, it's going to be a totally different generation. I want to put myself in a position to be able to capitalize that down the road, like these guys, or Rob, who's been doing this for 30 years. And look at this show. Who would have imagined he would be able to?
It's only the third show. Look how
This is
big it
only the third
Yeah.
show for Rob. Shout out to Rob and EJ, phenomenal show. But those guys really were there when it wasn't as lucrative. They were passionate before everything. And then when it really their time came, they were just ready because they never left.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. That's what gets me excited about the future.
Yep, 100%. Well, guys, I appreciate you joining us. Great conversation. I'm sure we'll have
Absolutely.
plenty more of these
Yeah.
as we.
Yeah,
as we move
there's a line in
forward,
my
so-
booth waiting to talk to me right now. So I gotta
Yeah, we gotta go.
Yeah,
I-
it's
it's
wrapping
pretty
all the
busy
way to
out
the
here.
stage
It's
here.
looking pretty
Yeah.
busy over
Yeah,
there,
with
man.
all these other people out here.
Yeah, for sure.
Are those the protesters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You walked
Not
by
at my
us, too.
You guys walked through
man,
that
we're
this
like,
morning,
we
too,
were
right?
walking over like, do we want to continue walking over here or not?
They were loud.
Yes,
It was definitely
Apparently
loud.
they've been
Whoever
do-
was staying in that Hilton today definitely got a
Wow.
wake-up call.
Yeah.
Apparently they've been doing it for 5 years.
Really?
Yeah,
The
they've-
same every Sunday.
I think it's like every other month or something. But like
So
I
it's-
heard
it's not working.
Yeah,
it's not working.
It's a long strike, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching the live stream. Make sure you catch the replays over at Hobbzi.com. Tune in at just a couple minutes. Who we have on next, Dakota?
Justin
Yeah.
from
so,
Alt.
yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. He's
So-
supposed to be
I'm
here.
going to sit in the audience and throw some stuff at him.
Yeah, please do. He's a character.
Oh, there he's coming
Yeah,
right
so
now.
we'll be back in 5
yeah.
with Justin from Alt. Make sure you catch that, Hobbzi.live, and make sure you catch the replays on Hobbzi.com. So thanks, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Is it a video?
As long as your card is in the Ludex portfolio, you can list it on eBay at any time. All you need to do is press the Sell Item button, and just like that, your eBay listing is populated there for you. You can still edit it any way you'd like, so you could scroll down and even choose Auction or Buy It Now. I'm choosing Buy It Now, and we'll make it $50. From there, you can review the shipping preferences. All that looks good to me. I'm going to type in my shipping location, which is Chicago. Shout out autocorrect. Then from there, all you need to do is press review. Make sure everything on your listing looks good one last time. And then publish on eBay. There will be a few disclaimers from eBay. And view your listing. Bam, there it is, on eBay, ready to get sold.
The eBay connector, I mean, dude.
Oh, this app Connect is nuts.
It's insane.
And the fact that it just scans this card, boom, click a couple buttons and set your price, and now it's on eBay. It's unbelievable.
And the average is
that's
around
a liar.
2 to 5 minutes, right? Okay, with Ludex, you can do it in like 30 seconds.
I think what you just announced, and we talked about a little yesterday, I think that is such an underrated big thing that happened in the hobby that I learned about this week.
And shout out to Brian Ludden and the whole Ludex team. You guys are amazing. I love you.
Chris.
Got it. And somebody.
He's Justin. Yeah,
no,
he's
no,
Justin. Yeah.
No, that's nobody.
He's the guy.
The unknown. How about
yeah,
that?
he's the unknown. He's the wild card. He's the one who's like, should he be on the stage?
Actually, Lefko gave me a new nickname when I was playing poker with him, and I took off my shirt. He's like, I didn't know you had that sleeve tattoo. He goes, I'm calling you Jay Murder now.
Oh, jeez, no.
That was a New York Times.
Are we live? Are we live? All right, we're live. We're live for the Burbank Card Show at the content stage here with Hobbzi. As Hobbzi, we have Chris and Justin here from Alt, and we're going to have some discussions on the future of the hobby and how we can get more outside investors into the space to grow. So thank you guys for being on the show. We kind of just had like a 5-minute pre-talk here about a bunch of different stuff, so I'm not sure where you guys want to take off from it or just want to pick up from where we were just talking.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us on. Appreciate it. Love what you're doing here. Fantastic. Live at the Burbank Card Show, so this is an important entertainment piece.
It is.
I think maybe that's what maybe we start there. Maybe
Okay.
we talk about events, experiences, because to me, when you get into collectibles and cards, I'm going to use that word interchangeably, you want experiences. You want to be a part of something. You want to be a part of a community. And what's going on, I'd say, in the space right now, we're coming to year end, and we know that at the end of the year, summer's done. A lot of the big shows now are wrapped up. The National this was my 13th National this year, and that's the biggest National I've ever seen ×3.
I agree.
Yeah, that was an amazing show.
They did a great, I've said it many times, most corporate build out I've seen. It was very nice to see something else than just backdrops popped up.
Yeah.
And, you know, they actually spent time, energy, and effort and been thoughtful about what it looked like. Your guys' booth was freaking cool, too. I just love your guys' branding. I'm just a fan of it.
There's some similarities here.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
But, no, I agree. It was very nice to
jack
see.
Of our brand, but that's okay.
No, hey, stop.
Okay.
Stop.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
At one point in time, you guys had some Las Vegas card show with neon green in there back in the day, too. So,
We did.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe you're stealing my stuff. I don't know.
We've gone through like 3 rebrands, but
Yeah.
we're hitting our
Yeah,
stride
that's
now.
okay.
Yeah, we're
It
really there
happens.
now.
You got to
Yeah,
roll
yeah.
with the punches. But yeah, I agree. I think the National was very well done. It's finally moving in that direction of what the biggest event for collectors should be. And companies just coming out and just putting it all on the line and bringing big stuff to the show. So I agree.
No, every time you get to a card show like that, and the National especially, like it shows how strong the community is and how much people care about the industry and the hobby and how passionate people are.
Yeah.
And like that's the makings, especially when the total market size is addressable and huge. Like that's the makings of a great industry with tons of ripe innovation to come.
Yeah.
It's the only time I've ever got lost at a National. I legit got lost like 3 or 4 times because
This
it was
past
so
year?
big. Well, they opened up another wing that they
There's
never
3
Yeah.
spaces. There's
That's
3
where we
rooms.
were. Yeah. So I was over there with you guys are right next to like Whatnot. I was like, holy crap, this is open over here.
And there's air conditioning in that spot. So
Oh, yeah, that area.
Ish. Yeah,
Ish.
exactly.
No,
That
when
one.
they started adding all the fans on the floor, maybe.
Oh man.
I just thought I was working so hard I was sweating that much. So
No, never
apparently
you, dude.
that was my
Never
loss.
you.
Sorry, man. It was a little both.
Let's talk about activations, though. Whatnot's
Yes.
activation was fire.
It
there.
was.
Yeah, it was
And
really
that's
cool.
very funny. I wonder if Tag got the idea for Burbank from there, but I agree. And we were just talking on stage is how do we get more of that? Like in the Ludex VIP Lounge, there's PXG had a golf simulator we can get fitted for clubs for free. Like how do we bring more of that into shows? And can the companies that are already in the space do that, or do we need to look at outside companies that can relate to our demographic?
Well, one thing I'll tell you, just from the experience of Alt, is I think it's great when there's an actual mesh of the corporate in between the actual dealer booths.
Yep.
It creates more interaction.
Yep.
You can do more than just having your own space, like plot on the left side of the show, right? Like if you're already integrated with everybody, you don't have to do as crazy of a setup, but more so like something that you can really like meet the hobby where they're at and be around everybody. And that's what we look to do every time is be in with the dealers and be in the trenches, as Justin says.
Personally, I think that's how it should be, and I'm not trying to knock any Burbank, but having the 2 floors really kind of hurt the corporate, and I know they know this, and I know they're gonna make it right. But I do agree with how having it was cool that the National used to have just one area of corporate, but it felt like there was 2. And it allowed people to go from one side of the room through corporate stuff into the break pit, into some dealers, back into a corporate area, then back into some dealers. So you want that ebb and flow of traffic so that you're actually immersing the attendees into the brands that are spent a ton of money to be there.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Isn't one of the reasons that we do this thing is because we want to be a part of something?
Yeah.
Right? We want to be a part of a community, maybe de facto in a smaller sense or an overall sense. But the guy said the other night to me at the hotel, which I thought was a really great comparison. He said, I come from the music space, and this feels a lot like when you're on tour. People going from city to city to show
It's
to
the
show.
same people going to every
And
show.
It's the same people, and that's cool. That's the community part. But what about the new people coming into the space and they come to the shows? That's where I continue to believe that as these shows and events grow, we've got to have additional activities, just like the corporate space I come from previously is corporate AmLaw 100 law firms. And so those guys work really, really hard. And when we do an event and a show, it'd be part vacation, part business, and then part like experiential events. And so one of the things that I just told you about before that I loved was at Culture Collision. They had a 3-on-3 basketball tournament.
Just because you want to say you won it.
I mean, there's the plug. There it is.
Beat you to it.
Reigning MVP. I was playing on a different team than this guy. I mean, he's pretty good, but it's a man's game. So, listen, we're on the same.
I was fouled on the 3. I would have won it for us.
We're on the same team this time.
Yeah.
So reigning MVP and champion. But I didn't want to put that out there. That was the point of my comment. He leveled up, and then Raphael leveled up, and then did OTE Arena.
Yeah, that was cool. I didn't get to go to it, but that would have been so cool to be in.
I didn't get the invite either. I'm not sure because it was influencers. They just didn't want me to wear the belt. I was about to bring the belt and strap it on like she did back in the day. It's good. It's all good. But you need to also open that up to people in the space coming in saying, yeah, I want to go to the show, I want to be a part of it, I want to bring 3 or 4 of my friends that don't know anything about cards, and they want to go play in this golf tournament or this basketball tournament and gamify it with prizes. And the prizes, guess what? Could be you get to participate in a rip. You get some wax.
And you have no idea what the heck a rip is.
You have no
idea.
clue.
You introduce it, next thing you know, you're spending 10 grand on cards.
Yeah, you fight the stigma of like some people in the hobby. They want to keep it just the people in the hobby, right? And then you got others that really want to expand it and push it, and that's what we're here to do, right? Like bring that education piece. Let people win. The more people win, the more people enjoy cards, the more people understand it.
Yeah, I used to call it the old boys club. It felt very, if you weren't a part of it, you're not allowed to be here. But then COVID really brought in so many new people that they couldn't really do that. So it kind of divided the room into what it has been for 50 years and what it's going to be for 50 years. And that's where I think you come in. I think you're very right. There needs to be more of that. Like I would have loved to brought in a basketball tournament of people that weren't in this space, like go to local teams like that are like youth teams and have them do a tournament, or dodgeball tournament in the back, or golf simulators, or batting cage simulators, like all sorts of stuff that gets people involved, that A, keeps people in the room, B, allows them to have a complete end-to-end experience, not just looking at cards, that's what we're here for at the same time is. But if you could be here for so long and go through all these experiences and then go, oh crap, I still haven't gone to look at cards yet, and now you're like, oh man, and now they're just like, I'm having a great day, and they're just going to be spending money, and because they're gonna be in that energy where they're just like, I'm having a great time, this is worth every penny.
That's really important. And we'll even get away. I think again, it's just about the experience in the event. Let's get away from like even athletics, because not everybody's they're not into athletics, and that's fine. And just kidding. This guy. Just kidding. This is
We're gonna run back ones. They'll be on the next podcast.
Okay.
Just gonna set it up
like
over the tech
flashback of Chris dunking on Justin. Like what?
Yeah, he was the second best player there. I will acknowledge that.
My
and he's good. He's quick. He's young. He's 20. He's 20 years younger than I am. And so, listen, a lot of love.
It shows.
Let's do this. Why couldn't we do some sort of like poker tournament for people in this?
No,
space to all get involved? And I love that. And so and guess what? Guess what the you like this, huh? I like it.
I had these ideas.
Well, it's not like he's from Vegas or anything.
Yeah, we want to do blackjack. I want to do a poker tournament where we put slabs down instead of chips.
No, I love it. That's great. Or whatever the
what
buy-in
if,
is.
What if you guys do
slabs.
that? What if you guys run a poker tournament at the next Las Vegas?
What if we do it together?
Yeah, no, you do it at Las Vegas.
What would that look like?
Yeah, you come at to Las Vegas Card Show and do it. That could be your booth experience.
I mean, it's fun because
you sign up and you say you have different card value leagues, like you 500 above or $500 to $500 cards, from $15 cards, $500 cards. You have to tell them what card you're going to bring to the table, and you say, okay, cool, bring it down. And whoever wins that round, you give them a stack, gets to take all the cards home.
Yeah, I love that. And so we know that Fanatics is looking at the space right now from an experience standpoint as a marketing IP company. Yep. And I hope they hear the space is that it needs to be driven around events, because the cards are great, but you don't expand the space. You don't get to bring 2 or 3 other people, I'll call it, to church if they don't actually come and get to experience a cool event in the community. Yeah. And that's a natural way for people to be a part of this, because the other thing you guys know when you started in the space, even now, sometimes it's really difficult to understand what's rare, what's scarce, what's valuable. And so that can be a very intimidating process and journey. And I think a lot of different companies, such as Alt, with our data aggregation and our pricing tool that we utilize, we're trying to blend all that together and actually remove that barrier. But other companies can do it as well. And so the easier we make it for people to come in and be a part of this space, again,
and feel welcomed.
Activation, they
Definitely.
feel welcome. They don't feel dumb.
Yeah.
And when you get back to the cards, what's the I'll say this, what's the best card in the entire space?
That's a
That's a loaded
answer.
question. You want
It's a
to
subjective
add
answer.
more detail to
What's
it?
the best?
If you're talking the last 50 years, probably everyone's going to lean towards the Mickey Mantle.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mickey
but
Mantle.
then you talk to a hockey player, it's going to say a Gretzky. If you
All
talk,
right.
you
How
know,
about you? This is a trick question.
I know
Keep
it
going.
is. There is no right answer.
Yeah, exactly.
No, there's a right answer, but
Well, here we go.
it's in terms of being in the space. I'm giving him a hard enough time. I won't do that right now.
No, you should. We give each other
You know
a
what
hard
it is?
time.
It's a PSA 10 or BGS Pristine 10 or SGC 10. I'll
Yeah.
just be agnostic when it comes to the grade.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan insert, and I'll tell you why. You're never going to feel like you're burned buying that card, as long as it's not like a
Because
again,
it's a collection. It's
It-
emotional.
It's Michael Jordan. It's a 10 grade. Probably costs $150 to $200. You're never going to go, oh, I feel so stupid for buying this card. It's like me, like, man, I got a PSA 10 Jordan or a BGS.
Yeah.
I'm being agnostic to grading right now. So
I
I'm
don't know.
being,
You
I'm
can just
being
say
the best.
graded PS. You can just say graded a 10.
Thank you for the term.
Just say
graded
graded
a
a 10.
10. I love that. So I was trying to be. I was
You're
trying
just
to
saying
be
too many words.
Yeah.
Fair enough. A graded 10.
Someone's been trained on podcasts.
Yeah.
No, this is like the third time I've been on camera. So.
Okay.
So
I just banter a lot with my
graded,
friends.
a graded 10 Jordan. That's the best card in the space. And the reason I bring that up again is that as people move in, they get the experiences, they get a couple cards, then they feel like this is kind of fun. Let me start the hunt and the journey as every one of us went on. And then they continue on the journey. So
Just like
that's a starter kit. That's what I see as a starter kit.
Even the base prisms of guys, right? Like, I love that for an entry point for people because it's something that they can accurately research and know that they're researching it well because there's a lot of sales. There's a lot of data out there, so it trains them on how to look up a card. You can actually see run-ups and run-downs on players based on how they play. Like, that's a great entry point. I think that's what we saw in the industry when everybody flooded in 2020, 2021.
And they got wrecked with Lucas and everything else. They're like,
yeah, but you saw, like, that was just like an exponential growth really quickly because of how many people came in.
That's
and of course,
true.
people get hurt in the shakeout period, but for the most part, now that everything's kind of settled, you can still make your 10, 20, 30% buying an Anthony Edwards a month ago till
That's
now
true.
on a base prism.
That's
And,
true.
you know, we get jaded or we get desensitized to making thousands and thousands of dollars on a card, but some people aren't going to ape in like that and buy that much.
Yeah.
They got to start small, learn, make their mistakes, and then you can grow bigger as you learn.
Get
And
hurt on
that's my
$10
big thing.
cards, not $500 cards.
Exactly, right? Yeah,
So
and I think that's everybody.
Another element that I was trying to bring to the last show, and I think could be at every show, is, you know, like the Mr. Minties or a company that can have an area for people to come down and understand what to look in for a card, what, like, when they're looking at it, like, how do I understand the value of this card, or the whole education process. You said it earlier. There is nobody in this room that a booth can go to besides what Mama Breaks did yesterday for kids right over here. But that's just kids. I mean, adults coming to this hobby new, too. I came into this hobby 3 years ago. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what a silver was. I didn't know what PSA was or BGS was. I just knew it was cardboard. And I didn't know where to start. Now, if there was a booth, an area where you could come into and there's a team there that can educate you on, like, hey, this is kind of how this works. You know, this is what to look for. But at the same time is you're going to have to figure it out. You're gonna learn. You're going to lose. That's the way you're going to learn. But we're going to try to mitigate that loss as much as possible.
Now, let me ask you
I think
this.
that would be cool.
Agreed.
You coming into the hobby 3 years ago, what would have been most helpful for you? You came to the show, so you got to understand it firsthand. But for the 98% of people that can't make it to shows that want to get into this space, what would be the most helpful thing from home that you could do?
Oh, well, that's what we're trying to do at Hobbzi, actually, is on Hobbzi.com. We want it to be a educational platform, a media platform, basically a hub where you can go to and you can learn from the ground up, because there's a couple team members on our team that have just got into this 3 months ago, and he's writing content as he is a new collector and trying to figure out how to place as many people in his shoes and try to educate them, leveraging Clint and I and other people that have been in the space long enough. So that's what I see. But the other caveat to what your question is, I came into this space not to collect.
Yeah.
I came into this space to throw a card show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I see a hole in the market in Vegas. I'm coming here to analyze every card show I went to and pass out as many card shows. Now, that naturally led me to start collecting and making those losses. But I did have somebody in my corner saying, avoid this, avoid that, look for this, don't worry about that. You're going to waste your money here. So there needs to be that platform, both physically at shows and online, where people can go to and learn about this if they're just getting started.
Definitely.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I was actually just looking up a card right now I was going to share some info about, and there are I'll say the static sites out there where you can learn and you can read, but it's really overwhelming, a lot of the content. Are you guys looking at this as being more live and interactive media?
Here?
Yeah, the knowledge part of it.
Yeah, so, I mean, the knowledge is active live now because of the person that's writing the content is entering that space.
Yeah.
Well as, like, we are leveraging existing knowledge that we have. When I hear live active, I'm thinking walking the show from a camera's perspective and asking people a question, like, up to a point where we've even had ideas of following around influencer and people super chatting to buy that card, buy this card, kind of control the person's buying actions, obviously with funded. But when it comes to, so my brain's a little split on what you're saying, so I'm going to that, and I think you're more
that was what I was asking, so that makes sense.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So,
because again, how often do all the media's out there if you want to get involved in the media or read the content, but I think people enjoy the live experience.
Yeah, it's all the same stuff.
And we don't offer that.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, it's who are you looking for? What's your grill card? What got you in the industry? Like, what's this? What's that? It's like, no, it's like, man, I messed up today. Or like, hey, let's go follow this person for 45 minutes and see what they buy. And now you get to be from home and watch that. You can even comment, and you can kind of community where people are like, oh, man, you should have bought that card, or I would have looked at that Jalen Hurts versus that Patrick Mahomes, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's creating that environment where people are allowed to be here because not everyone can travel to 50 shows, 40 shows a year.
Yeah,
that's why Burbank was was built over here, is because so many of the better shows or bigger shows are on the East Coast. It's basically Dallas and to the right. So there needed other shows on the West Coast, which is another reason why I was starting Las Vegas Card Show. But then there's a ton that blew up out here is because people can't go everywhere.
I'm never going to Atlantic City again. I just want to put that out there.
I heard they're going back.
Oh,
did they vote it out?
I won't do it. I'm going to call them sick.
Yeah.
I've been twice now.
Yeah.
I'd rather be
dangerous.
kicked in the face.
I saw somebody get beat up.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, it is. But I understand.
It's just a scummy facility.
But they get it for free. They get it for free.
I know they get it for free.
Which
100%.
I mean, as a business perspective, I'm like, I don't have to spend $1 million on a facility.
So again, are we worrying about we get it for free, or do we want to grow and expand the hobby?
No.
Is it for the love of the game, or is it for the love of the money?
I think and props to the Burbank staff here is they took they wrote a check to help ease the vendors, with the union, and I think shows need to be looking at it from how do I make this the best place for vendors, attendees, and corporate.
They've done a great job.
Yeah, they have. They did. They really stepped up, and they did something that I thought Mint should have done, which was not have people pay to move their stuff in. And they're just like, we're going to pay the fee. It's free labor. I think that was an awesome thing. That shows they truly care about their vendors and their experience and making it easy. And I think the National could learn something about that.
Let's build the perfect show right now.
Okay.
So I've been in this space since '98. I've been to a lot of different shows, so I got a lot of different little elements and pieces I can take. It doesn't have to even be in this space, just whatever your previous careers. Let's go around. We each get one pick, okay? So we each get 2 picks of what we'd like to add an element to the show. I'll start first since I came up with the idea. Here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see, shout out to my boy NK, by the way, because he loves this idea and believes in this idea. I want the collection segmented. I want vintage to be over in a vintage area, away from 90s inserts.
I agree.
Now, dealers may say, well, how am I going to do that? I have vintage and I have 90s inserts. Well, we could figure out a way to do that essentially where everybody's got 2 or 3 different guys that work at their booth, right?
Yeah.
So you got the guy that mans vintage. He's over with the vintage guys. You got your 90s inserts, or we could even call it like ultra modern or modern basketball, football. But I want the sections You can sit around, vintage.
You can just
guys.
stay in that area all day if you wanted.
100%.
You don't have to hunt the floor for the next vintage guy.
Yeah,
I had this idea for Vegas Card Show, but then when I was allowing people to pick their own table selections on the interactive map, how am I going to say just be here if you're vintage, and if vintage sold out, you think a vintage guy's not going to go buy another table? So it was something that I couldn't control at the time, but maybe in the future. But I like that idea. I think that's very smart. It's just like how certain shows have TCG and sports. Like, you can't have cosplay sitting next to a vintage guy. I'm sorry, it's just not going to work.
Awkward a little bit. I mean, I want to see it. I want to see it.
I
That's
do
cool,
too. But I agree. I do like that idea.
So that's my pick. That would be the first thing. Aside second of the show. It's up to you now.
I would say, obviously, good Wi-Fi. I think that stalls out a lot at the show. I'm
I
a
made
simple
that
man.
statement
I'm
at
a
my
simple
last
man.
show,
That's one thing I want. And another
I
thing
heard this one's pretty good here. I didn't.
Yeah,
pay
no,
for it.
it was good. It worked. I didn't have any issues. I didn't even think about it, which is a good sign. But the other thing I'd love is I think every show should either partner with a company or do it themselves. Have a liquidity provider at the front of the show because everybody's coming here to make deals,
100.
meet one another. That's why we've taken to giving actual cash out at the show. We used to just drop it in people's balance for cash advances, but
we like this.
Yeah, people want to have the cash. They're here. They traveled here because they want to make
have to
deals.
go to the bank and pull it out.
Shows stall out because people come with all these cards and not a lot of cash, and then it's really hard to make trades. You make maybe 1 to 3 trades a day because you're just sitting there negotiating. Cash makes it very simple. More transactions, more liquidity flowing in the room. I would love to have alts or the card show people buying cards at the front of the show when people walk in to move around.
So I agree. I've had that idea too. I feel like we need to talk more.
I think so.
I think we're just building the next show right now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, I mean, a lot of these ideas are similar to what I wanted. I was new and then I was bootstrapped. I started with $0. So I just haven't had no one knows who I am. I don't have the relationships, the network, and I didn't have the money or the capital to do these things. So these are all things that I agree with, and I've had these ideas, and I'm sure there's going to be more of them.
Well, you're up next, so you
get
the next one. I want to clarify one thing. So you're looking at this almost like a cashier's cage. At the very front, like if you're in Vegas.
Yep.
They walk in and they're like, I got these cards. I want to go on the hunt and be liquid and go. And then maybe there's 2 or 3 providers. I love that.
Well, that's the thing
I
with
think that's
education
brilliant.
too. They walk in the show. Like,
kind
you
of
want
like
people
what
that are going
PSA's
to help
booth
them
looks
win.
like back here, where you could bring it behind wooden doors, so it's like secure.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I do too.
Your money goes a lot further than trade, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I
you're
like it
trade.
at the front. That's the key word to me. Like,
Yeah,
if you're
as
the
soon as you
very
see it,
front,
like, I can get money now.
because you kind of get lost. And historically, there's always been 2 or 3 dealers that have had a lot of cash and been there. And so, yes, this idea that we had come to life of bringing true cash at a show and paying it out to people as opposed to a credit or something PayPal. That means all the difference in the world because we know cash gets deals done.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. All day long. This is a tough question for me because I've ran a show and I've thought about everything under the sun, at least though I think I can. I'm sure there's a lot I've missed. The biggest 2 things for me, and I can't be just one, is operational logistics have to be on point. You can't look like you're a mess because if you're a mess, you're going to lose your vendor's respect. Number 2, experiences. Yep. I come from nightlife in Vegas and festivals. There needs to be more activations. And activations could be something as a photo booth to a basketball court. It doesn't matter. It needs to be more things going off in this room. Just like what I was going to say earlier is with kids. They are the next 50 years of this industry. They are being raised in an economy and an environment that is a lot of stuff going on, like from their phones to the basic stuff.
Grabbing the attention.
It is very grabbing. So if they don't have stuff to do, they're just going to come in, get their card, and leave. So we got to figure out a way to keep people's attention in the space, in the room, so almost they're like they forget that they're here and that they also want to come back. That's the biggest key, the biggest L every show faces is Sunday, the last day of the show. I even tried not having a Sunday and doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday because I knew Sunday was going to be a wash.
That's smart.
But it didn't work out that way. I mean, I also think because the attendance was low, but because Saturday is usually the best day, and then you end with an after party and just say come back tomorrow and clean your stuff up. But it's how do we bring more activations and excitement to Sunday to keep the room filled with Sunday and not just people want to leave, because that is every show. It's Sunday. It is what it is. We're probably going to leave early. So how do we change that?
Yeah, I love that idea. I mean, obviously we've got a natural way you could do a lot of these things right now too. We talked about a few of them already, but you've got the football season starting next week, the NFL season, I should say, starting next week. And so you've got, naturally it's going to occur at some point where you can actually do some sort of fantasy draft with slabs and people in here. Or you could actually wager with the cards. I don't know what the laws
I
are
think
around
betting with
that,
cards is a crazy, awesome idea.
well, it's going to be there in the future. I mean,
It's just you got to figure out if we're going to get in trouble for doing it.
I mean, we live.
I mean, they do it all day long.
We live in the world where gambling is like completely illegal in every state, and people gamble on everything.
Yeah.
And so do our financial markets every single day.
Yeah,
so.
well, I mean, we're talking about things that the casino always wins. Like,
Yeah.
talking
Well,
about the stock market.
I'm talking peer-to-peer. I'm speaking more peer-to-peer.
Yeah, I mean,
with
people flip coins all the time for stuff. When people
Yeah.
are bored at shows, they'll find something to gamble about.
But I'm basing it on the game. Like, if you walked up and I want to do this, I mean, ideally, I think that ultimately I'd love to do this on the alt platform.
Yeah.
You've got a game taking place. People, it's like Eagles versus Bears.
Mhm.
And I've got like-valued Hurts and Fields cards. Let's put a wager on the spread and see what happens.
Yeah.
I think it shows, too, during the NFL season.
Yeah.
If there was some
And
sort of experiential breakout on that, people would love it.
I think so. I mean, again, every time I talk about what this industry is, the demographic of this is sports gambling, drinking degenerates. Like, that's what we are. And I'm just as much of that too. I just don't sports gamble.
I don't know if I like the word degenerate. I think I like the word.
You're gonna make it more professional sounding.
I think I like it. I like a different word. I don't know what the word is, but risk taker. How about that?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
If that makes you feel better, you sleep better at night, I'm happy for you. But yeah, this is. I think the overall aspect of events, there are a few people, like we've already discussed, like Culture Collisions Burbank and a few other people, they are slowly turning that dial. It can't be a light switch, because if it's a light switch, it's going to mess a lot of people up, and they're going to, it's like too much different too soon. So it's, but we do need those, a certain amount of shows that are pushing the lever up, so that people experience goes up, and then there's always just going to be the remaining, you know, a card show that's just a card show, because there's that demographic that just wants to come in, find that card, and leave.
Yep.
No, I love that. I love that you're from the nightlife space. I mean, obviously your show's done well. You got guys like Chris Costa that's from the nightlife space that puts on the Fenway show. That's awesome. We talked about Raphael and his show, and those are great. We need more of that. Burbank's been great. I understand the high-low, the corporate space, and then also the dealer space. I think it's a good idea. Some things are some things are controllable, some things are out of your control, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Next thing I want to promote for the show. So we've got 3 ideas so far.
Okay.
Right? Next thing I want to promote, and I'm not sure how we do this.
All right.
But we need to have on booths and also on people walking by some way to signify
You've been there.
their social media account, because you see people all the time and you're sitting there and they're kind of like giving you a look and you're talking and it's like, what's your name?
Oh, I know people by their social media.
Oh,
not
of
their
course,
names.
of course.
I'm like,
Yeah.
What's your Instagram?
What's up, buddy?
What's your Instagram? Dude, we've done like 3 deals together. Like,
I was talking to you
good
this
talk
week.
to you.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
man,
how we demystify that
Dude.
social to real life experience, because there's a level of trust, of warmth then that
Yeah.
comes in because you
Yeah.
facilitated.
I think
some
this
sort of
comes down
transaction.
to it comes down to better branding and better showcasing of your branding. I do think that often a little rant is once we started seeing the change of direction of hobbies when people started caring about their Instagram branding, it went from a collegiate style logo type font to a full color scheme, and people are actually putting effort into it. And now it's going to start like, okay, now we have the attention here, but people don't know that's me here. I've walked around shows without my Las Vegas Card Show hat on, and nobody knew who I was. And the moment I put on my hat on, I'm like, yo, what's up? I'm like, dude, I've been here for 3 days. like, what do you want from me? But at the same time, is people need to start bringing that to their setups, not just putting display cases down. And it's happening. So what I'm thinking is a way where you can, it's like a QR code where they scan it, and it populates everyone that you talk to, and it lets them like almost like a contact.
That's fire. I love that
So
idea.
like,
That's a wonderful
so
idea.
like you're just like, oh, scan, boom, puts that. I got this person's I scanned this person's QR code, this person's QR code, and then you can go back and follow them later, because people are like, oh, pull out your thing and follow it. It's like, no, scan it and put it in your pocket, and then go look at your CRM later.
We need to continue to innovate around that. I'm thinking even more. I love that idea. I think that's ultimately where it needs to go. I'm thinking a little more manual. Like, you need to put a booth skirt on that actually has your social.
Oh, that's what I was saying. Like the
image.
booth branding, just
like
just a table
image
throw.
and then the name. Like one of the things we did the national. I'm wearing the jersey right now. On the back, we put our Instagram names on there. And it was
Is that your name?
Yeah. And so mine's
Grails?
Grailed Grails. And
Yeah.
like, I had some people going, Grailed, what's up? Grailed, what's happening? I said, hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
You know?
so they recognize you as your Instagram.
Absolutely.
100%. Because often people don't put pictures of themselves on there.
I haven't posted a picture of
because I love
myself in like 5 years.
I love my children, so I put pictures of my children on there and me.
But not you, man. People don't want to look at
Not
you.
me. Not me. Of course not. 100%. So, but it gives that like, that facial recognition part. So that's my next piece.
Yeah.
Sounds like we got a couple more. Let's get this show done because this will be the ideal show. It's the next show, apparently, the next Las Vegas.
I mean,
show.
we might have a lot to go on here. So
What do you got, Chris?
What?
We got one more. We each got one pick, or 2 picks. Sorry, so I'm on.
I did my 2 already.
Oh, I said Wi-Fi and the catch
You
bands.
covered them all at once. All right, that's fair. I'll let you get away.
Yeah, I did the same. I did logistics and experience. Because like with the logistics, I'm talking show signage, way signage, things on the floor, putting branding on the floor for people, like getting that, like, oh, marking on the floor, scan this QR code, Alt's doing a giveaway, scan, done. Now they have to go to your booth and figure out, hey, where am I aligned on this? Did I win anything? If not, you just get like a sticker, a t-shirt. Like that is also experiential and logistics at the same time. So how do you start merging those things? So it's very broad what I said, but also you can narrow it down when you really talk about it.
This probably goes to logistics too, but increased security. I think it was great that there were security guards walking around up and down the rows.
Yeah, I'm
upstairs,
big on that
downstairs.
too, because people come in with hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Look, all I'm going to tell you is if we continue to accomplish our goal of bringing in more people into the hobby, where there's more people and there's more money, there's more fraud, and there's more deceit and crime. So
I'm big on security. So I was in the military, so
there you go.
I definitely had
Attaboy.
armed guard, armed guard on our show. So thank you.
Army?
Yes.
My guy. My guy.
My guy.
Love it. Got General George Patton here right on the arm.
Yeah.
So, Army guy through.
My Army tattoo is just a sword.
Okay, hey, listen, doesn't matter. You served. I appreciate it too,
Thank you, man. Thank you, man.
Is it too maybe taboo or aggressive to say, can we have maybe a dress code one day? I think that'd be very, very cool because having a little bit of a dress code at the show, at least from the vendor side.
What is it that you're specifically thinking about?
I don't like when the guys come in shirtless. It's really bothersome.
Who comes in shirtless?
Shirtless and little nacho cheese on the chest. It's awkward. It's a weird moment, but I'm kidding. But I mean, more along the lines of like having the consistency of
uniformity.
Yeah, listen, thank you. Uniformity is the term I'm looking for because often you don't know who to talk to, and it's intimidating walking by the cases, and people always don't have the best soft skills in the world. So at least if there's
you're talking about people skills.
Soft skills, but also, dress code kind of goes hand in hand with that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think to me, if we could level up in that sense to make it more easy to interact with dealers.
I think that comes with time and elevating the space.
100%.
As the space elevates, rising tides raises all boats type situation. So
I agree.
At the same time is you got people been doing this for 50 years, they're not going to change. They're just going to give you the bird and be like, get out of my face. You do want a card or not. So it goes to who's elevating. That also inspires other people to elevate and take things more seriously. And I think the more we see the companies doing that, the more people are going to want to fall in line and do the same thing.
I agree, and also they'll gain more market share. I mean, that's the truth. The friendlier people will gain more market share.
Yeah.
Yes, it is the cards, but also it's like the experience with the individual there. But
we know it's a relationship-based hobby. That's why you're here, Justin.
I'm just leveling it up right now.
That's the only thing you're good for.
That's all right.
I get to throw my jabs in too. So
I'm going to back you up. I feel like you get picked on a lot by him, so I
actually, he's when I joined Alt about right around 4 months ago. Chris has been the ideal person to work with and partner with. He's smart, he's witty, he's always happy, he knows the infrastructure, so I'm extremely grateful for him. That's the final nice thing I'll say about him.
I was going to say, that's probably the only thing you're going to get out of him.
Got it on camera right there.
But,
clip that.
Yeah, we're gonna
but I appreciate
it's like
Chris.
you can never say he didn't say anything nice.
I appreciate Chris
great.
very much. So, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else to cover?
I think that's it, man. I think we got it great. I mean, right up on the point. We did about 40 minutes. I love it. You guys were great. This is awesome. I appreciate you guys coming up so much. So
really appreciate
everyone, round of applause for Alt. They were awesome. And if you didn't catch it, you could get it back at you could watch it back at Hobbzi.com, and they'll probably post it on their platforms too. And we'll just continue working together. And we have a lot of conversations to have outside of this.
Absolutely.
Yes, we do.
Thanks for having us. Really
no problem,
appreciate
man.
it.
All right, guys. See you in the next 5 minutes.